Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Jeff Erickson here with Fred Zinkie, here for the next foreseeable future, probably about an hour or so. It promises to be a banger of a show. We'll hammer down. We'll try to construct some good lineups and hammer some good points in here and there. Yes, I've got gonna have some construction background going on here, so bear with me on that. But Fred, how's it going?
It's good. I'm excited for the upcoming Jared Kelenic debut here in a couple days. And, two more sleeps till Jared Kelenic plays in the majors, which was probably not going to be as immediately exciting as we're all making it out to be. But I still think it's probably going to be the best prospect debut this season.
Yeah. And it's not a surprise that he's one of the first. This was the least kept secret. We were super, prepared for this. I mean, he's done everything he can to force the issue. And here we are. Homers twice on his first day in the minors in AAA. It was kind of least kept secret. There was the fake tweet yesterday that I fell for, and Joel Sherman fell for. I think Mike Farron did. A few other people calling him out because it's just misery loves company. And there was another national writer that fell for it, but in his own little way, where he tweeted out like it was his news, and then of course deleted the tweet once he found out that it was fake news. But it looks like Thursday is going to be the day.
Yeah, Thursday's going to be the day, and I think I'm interested to get your take on Kelenic because I think his upside is really, really high from this point forward. Like, I'm interested you'll be the first person who I've discussed with, where do we rank him going forward without having him have played a game yet, but I think pretty darn high.
Yeah, I think so too. I wish I had him more. I only have him in AL Tout Wars. Thought I had him other places. Then I went to my little Google spreadsheet. And I was like, type in Kelenic. Nope, that's it. Just one.
Yeah.
I really wanted to have him in more places. I guess I just wasn't able to do that. To do a little bit to get him in more places. But how many? I know you have him in a lot of leagues, don't you?
I have him, and especially not all leagues are probably created equal. Like I have him on my main event team, and I have him on a $500 buy-in NFBC team that I drafted the night before that I drafted the main event team. So those are two of the more significant leagues for me. And I've been patiently waiting on him. I wasn't as on him. Maybe I'd have to look back and see where he went in our labor draft, but I think I have him also in one or two of those NFBC draft champions, but I wasn't totally on him when we were doing the labor draft. And I regret that, although maybe he went really early. I'd have to look back, like I said.
Tim McLeod's in our league, so there's...
Tim has him, yes.
Of course he does. Of course he does. And if it wasn't going to be him, Joe Sheehan could have had him just as readily. I'm surprised. I'm just surprised you haven't made a trade offer yet. I mean, like a week ago, for that matter. I'm kind of disappointed, to be frank.
I'm going to make a trade offer very soon. I was trying to think what I would trade for him, and I'm just pulling up there. I've got up our labor draft, so I can see what round Tim took him in, and should I have been on it? Yeah, he took him in round 13.
Near you. In fact, he was right in your kitchen.
Yeah, so I would have passed on him to take Ian Happ, and then he was gone. And would I have taken him over Cole Calhoun or Eliezer Hernandez, who I took on my next turn? Quite possibly. But so I just missed out on him. I will give Tim, my team's not doing well in that league, but I would give him quite a lot for him. I would not trade Lindor or Freddie Freeman. I would not trade Brandon Woodruff. I'm pretty much open to anything else. How about that?
That's aggressive. I think you should go for it before I beat you to it. So I think I might just try to meddle here a little bit. Tim's got a balanced team, 40.5 hitting points, 35.5 pitching points. It's hurting in stolen bases. That doesn't help us because Kelenic could provide some. Hurting in ERA and WHIP. Okay, you can offer a pitcher. So that's your path. I'm just going to see if I can mess that up for you just enough. No, I want him to. That's all. Has nothing to do with you. I'm tired of starting Clint Frazier every week. There you have it.
Yeah, and I mean, in this league specifically, I actually have a lot of outfielders, and I don't have a lot of infielders. I don't have middle infielders. I have Starlin Castro and in one of my middle infield spots. My middle infielders and Nick Ahmed, who got me a steal last night. I just picked him up, and he's in one of my other spots. I need middle infielders more. How about this? Looking at your team, Trent Grisham and Teoscar, you have both of those guys who are similar in some ways to Kelenic in that they have that power and speed combo.
And awesomeness. Yes.
Yeah, Grisham a little more speed, Teoscar a little more power. Both of them are not typically batting average helpers. Maybe at best they're not. Maybe at best they're not hurters, but not big helpers. Do you think Kelenic's kind of in that wheelhouse? If we were drafting right now going forward, do you think he's kind of in that wheelhouse where of the 4th, 5th round type outfielders?
Oh, I wouldn't take Kelenic that high. I prefer Grisham and Teoscar over him, and especially because I get to say Teoscar. And I think that alone, in and of itself is worth a round right there. I think Kelenic, if I'm drafting today, I mean, it's sight unseen. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not sight unseen. That's lying, but it's Major League sight unseen. I'd probably put him 8th round. I don't know. I'm a little more circumspect than you are.
Yeah, you are. I would go a little higher just because there's just not a lot. So I gave you like a long list of guys to consider. I would take him, say, over all the Charlie Blackmon, Eddie Rosario. Those were kind of like 8th round types when we drafted. They don't have any speed. I think I would take him over those guys. I would have trouble taking him over, say, someone like a George Springer. If I thought Springer's going to be back really soon, there's just so.
But is he, Fred?
No.
You're my local Blue Jays source here.
No,
he's not coming back anytime soon. I'd trade Springer for Kelenic like that.
Right. So I'll
do it again. I just did it again.
You would not. I bet you would not trade Kelenic then for Aaron Judge. Sorry, you would trade. You would rather have Aaron Judge.
I would. I'm stubborn with Aaron Judge. Yes.
How about Randy Arozarena?
That seems fair. That seems in the ballpark.
Yeah. So I felt like I was kind of looking at typical skill sets. So this is my theory on Kelenic to share with the world, and I might have shared this once on this podcast before. But in 2019, when he was 19. He played 117 games in the minors. He got as far as Double-A. In the 117 games, he got 23 homers and 20 steals. So, you push that out towards more like a major league type season, 145 or something games, you get more like 26 homers, 22 or 3 steals. I believe had Kelenic played in the minors last year, he would have basically repeated those numbers or so, maybe even bettered them while playing most of the season in AAA, playing maybe a little Double-A, a lot of AAA, something like that. And then his fantasy stock would have been in drafts this year would have been even higher. But because there was no minor league season, we didn't have those numbers to go, like a 2020 set of statistics to go by. I think he seems really good at the plate, and then he also has the speed. And I don't think it's gonna be elite speed, but if he could steal going forward a dozen bases, maybe the rest of the way, 15 might be asking a lot in this environment. But the Mariners don't mind running.
That's true.
So maybe he could steal 15.
In fact, I would go farther and say they like running. They don't even not mind it. I think they're one of the. I need to clarify. I should probably get some numbers to justify.
No, you're right. How about this? In the grand scheme of Major League Baseball, if you're the team nowadays who runs the most, then maybe the most they'll give you is you don't mind running. Because compared to teams a few years ago, that's all you are. But you're right. Like the Padres, the Mariners, these are some of the teams that like to run the most, which is still not a lot of running historically, even compared to a decade ago. But it's the most now. It's the most now, which is all that matters. So. I kind of compared him to some of these Grisham or Arozarena types who can get you some homers, some steals. We'll see what the batting average is like with Kelenic, but I don't think it'll be low, or I don't think there's any more likelihood it'll be low than any of those other guys. Yeah,
I have that cognitive bias, and I'm forgetting the term for it, where I overvalue those that I have. And I have Grisham, as you well know. It'll come to me like immediately after the podcast is done, unless a helpful listener that is paying attention wants to remind me the name of that bias. But read Keith Law's book on Inside Baseball. It's he talks about all these biases, and it's endowment effect. Thank you. That's right.
There
thank you, Gautam Rao, and I probably butchered your name, Gautam Rao. That's but anyhow, thank you. Endowment effect. That is exactly it. That's what I have. I know it though, so therefore it's fine, right? If I know it, I have that bias. Therefore, I don't have it. It's okay. It's like jinxing.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. So I think I'm agreeing with you on Grisham, who's off to a good start. I don't know. I think I would have him in a little higher than you, like the 5th round or so, 6th round. But again, maybe I'm getting a little too enthusiastic about stuff. Like I did just watch the Vladimir Guerrero experience where like Vladimir Guerrero is an amazing talent and he's going to be amazing and have a great career and everything, but it still took him a couple years to get rolling. And the fact that he's rolling now doesn't help you if you drafted him 2 years ago. So, you know, and had him in your league that season, or if you had him in your league last season, the fact he's rolling now doesn't help you. So, maybe I'll be wrong on Kelenic hitting the ground running. I just like the fact that he can steal some bases. It helps me. And I think in that lineup, he should hit pretty high up. Like, I think, I guess I know I shouldn't give the Mariners this much credit, but they don't have a great lineup. I feel like he shouldn't come up and hit 8th.
I'd agree with that. They might do that the first couple of times, 6th, 7th, 8th, something like that. But
I don't know.
Creep up a little bit. I mean, Dylan Moore's having a terrible season.
Absolutely.
Taylor Trammell is having a terrible season. Sam Haggerty's had his moments. It's not like, it's funny because it is a little incongruous for me to be screaming about why aren't you calling him up? Why aren't you calling him up? Oh, wait. I don't think he's a 4th round player right now. I mean, the thing is, it's the replacement. What he's replacing is really easy to replace, but. Yeah, I mean, it should happen really soon here. It's just a question of who sits and how they make room. I mean, Julio Rodriguez could get the call later this year too if he rakes at like high A and they move him to AAA quickly, which could happen. I
think Rodriguez more than Kelenic needs the team to be successful. I think Kelenic should have been on the roster opening day. And let's be honest, like if he had decided to do a Luis Robert style long-term contract during spring training, he would have been on the roster opening day. I think
those were all lowball offers. That's just
totally. Oh no, I'm not blaming him for that. I'm just saying the thought that he needed these 6 weeks or whatever to develop is a farce. So he was coming up no matter what. Rodriguez, I think I could see them if they're competitive in August, maybe he comes up. And it's that whole thing where you're adding someone to make a split. You're adding prospects to make. I've seen the Blue Jays do this before where you're like, hey, we didn't trade for anyone great at the deadline, but we added someone who's like trading for someone great at the deadline. Like we just added a great piece to our lineup and you get the fans that way. If they're out of the race, I could see Rodriguez being all the way till this time next year, like late April, early May next year.
Right. Kind of like the White Sox with Eloy and Luis Robert, where, what's the point of a September call-up? I could see them playing that.
Yeah, there's no point. If the Mariners are where a lot of people assume the Mariners will be, like if they're at the, below 500 at that point in the season, I don't see any point in doing that. The fans will be annoyed, but whatever, this time next year, you'll bring them up and they'll be fine. And I mean, they have Haniger and they have Kyle Lewis. And now they have Kelenic. So if those guys are healthy, they do have 3 interesting guys in the outfield. But yeah, if they're competing, like this is a way Rodriguez, I think could be up in August or something like that.
Let me give you some pitchers. So, because it's not always hitters for pitchers. If you're trying to trade for Kelenic, maybe like in your case, Tim McLeod needs a starting pitcher. I don't have your roster in front of you. So
I have Zach Gallen. How about that?
Would you offer Zach Gallen?
I think no. I think Zach Gallen's just a little bit higher than. I think I just got to go a little below that. Unfortunately, on my team, I have Carlos Rodon. That would be interesting. Like you can't pitch much better than Carlos Rodon's pitched this year. Yeah. So maybe I should trade Zach Gallen actually and keep Carlos Rodon. The more I think about it.
Well, he's more likely to accept Gallen than he is Rodon, I would think.
I would think so. It's probably just your stance on buying all in on Rodon. I think Gallen hasn't moved much. Like Gallen's pitched fine so far. Yeah. He missed a couple weeks. He's pitched fine. His injury wasn't like a ligament in his elbow or something. Like I think Gallen's fine now. I drafted him around the 3-4 turn, and all the drafts he's going around the 3-4 turn. I'm assuming we still value him if we were drafting again somewhere in that range, round 4, something like that. Rodon is like all over the map. Like you could have people who fully buy what Rodon's doing and think he's better than Zach Gallen. He's a top 10, 12 starter. I think you have people who say, come on, it's 5 starts.
Here, let me throw you some other names. This is the ultimate buy low. Luis Castillo. Drafted in the 2nd round, but performing like a reserve pick right now. But
I'll take Kelenic.
Yeah, I think you.
I want a bigger discount on Castillo.
Yeah, Kenta Maeda.
So I have Maeda, and I would trade Maeda for Kelenic, partially because I also have Rodon, Gallen, and Woodruff. So it makes sense to trade Maeda, but I don't think I can get Kelenic for Maeda. Do you?
I don't think you can either. What about Blake Snell?
Not while that ERA starts with a 5.
Yeah, and Maeda's had 1 year like that too. I think that's the other thing.
Some other solid years like Maeda, like he said, like his first year at the Dodgers, 3.48 ERA, 114 WHIP, 179 strikeouts. Like it's a pretty good year, but yeah, I know what you mean. I just think I'm not getting the most hype prospect in baseball who just got called up unless I give a pitcher who's pitching a lot better than Maeda.
Yeah. How about Lance Lynn?
Well, that feels fair. It feels very fair. It would probably be totally team structure. I would go Lynn. Like unless I was really flush with pitching. I think I would rather
Barrios.
have Lynn. Now you're in my wheelhouse. I'm not a huge Barrios guy. Now you're in my wheelhouse. I'll go.
I'm not a big Barrios guy either. I would trade Barrios in a name.
That's right at my wheelhouse. Like if I had extra pitching, if pitching was my strength and I wanted Kelenic, I think I'm a little lower on Barrios than I am Lynn, Gallen, and probably even Rodon, just because Rodon, like, I don't know what Rodon's going to be from this point forward, but like he's been incredible, and the secondary statistics are incredible too. Like he's not just incredible ERA WHIP, like everything looks great. So I'd have to, but Rodon really interests me because he's could be all or nothing the rest of the way, and so could Kelenic. Kelenic could hit 230 and just we're like, oh, this kid wasn't ready after all. Oh, shucks, but we were wrong. But or
the Mariners were right. What?
Yeah. He can't hit lefties at all. Yeah. So
look at the defense. Oh my gosh, burns my eyes.
Like a high end Kelenic, the high end on him is like a second round pick or something the rest of the way, but the low end is you're like, oh, he can't, like he's not as good as we thought, he's not as ready as we thought, and he's barely playable or something. So him and Rodon are an interesting comparison to me for different reasons, but Rodon could be anything from your staff ace the rest of the way to you're not even sure at some point later in the season if you want to use him or not because maybe he wears down or something.
One last one and then we'll move on. Zach Plesac.
I trade Plesac for him.
I also probably this is now I'm going thoroughly into hypothetical land because I don't have him anywhere. So
how about Zach Greinke?
I would.
I
would. The fact that I said that so readily, it kind of scares me, but I don't know. Greinke kind of scares me, but he's got a 130 WHIP. That bothers me more than the ERA, to be honest with you. When the weather heats up, he might be awesome, but 35 Ks in 44 innings and today's hyper
low
strikeout
ceiling.
land. That's
it's a low ceiling with Greinke. I'm not down on him, but like just with his age and the low strikeouts, like it's a low ceiling. You really need him to be picking up wins, which are fickle. Like his start Sunday, I think it was Sunday against the Blue Jays, was really disappointing. Like he had the 4 shutout innings and then he couldn't get anyone out in the 5th inning and he had a 7-0 lead. And like that one was frustrating. And I think though the thing, if someone's been holding Kelenic and you're going to get him away from them, you're probably going to have to trade that owner, someone who's playing well right now. I don't think a Luis Castillo, a Kenta Maeda, all these guys Greinke, who have seen their value diminish a bit. It's going to be hard to do a buy low unless it's a real low. Like you could trade Lindor for him. So who's started to come around a little bit, but you could trade like a Lindor, like that level of second round type player who's off to a slow start. I don't know about the other guys. Yeah. I know Castillo is also a second round player who's off to a slow start, but I don't know. Wait for him to fail in Coors this week and then trade for him.
I think you're probably right about that. All right. Before we move on from Kelenic Cast, quick note from our sponsors. Those of you watching on video, you didn't have to hear from those sponsors, but those of us listening to the podcast, thank you for listening to them. We will have more sponsorship opportunities later on in the podcast. But and a quick note, we don't have a live read from them just yet, but I want to thank our friends at WinBet. They've signed on to sponsor our MLB podcast immediately. So go check out WinBet when you're looking for odds on games to bet. If you're looking to bet online, you are in a state that allows that. But WinBet, thank you, WinBet, for sponsoring us. Okay, Kelenic Cast, we discussed that. There's other big news. Other players in baseball exist. Jacob DeGrom went to the IL. He's kind of important, just the first overall pick in the NFBC mains, according to ADP. Interesting note on him that came out today. He got placed on the IL after initially saying, he might not need to go on the IL. It's still possible. Then today, okay, we're going to put him on the IL anyhow. And Luis Rojas was saying something to the effect that the imaging didn't show anything, but they wanted to make sure he didn't mess around with his mechanics as he was recovering from this injury to his side.
I'm not too worried about DeGrom. The question I posed to you in warming up for this podcast is, if you were drafting today, would you still take him over Cole and Bieber?
No, I would not.
Yeah,
because this is the second starter. One start he's missed. He's going to miss another one. I mean, you're introducing a little risk to the equation, and Cole and Bieber have been pretty darn awesome in their own respect. Bieber kind of struggled a little bit against the Royals last time out, but that's his struggle. When that's his struggle, you're fine. Yeah. I think I take both of those over him.
Yeah, Bieber gets you so many strikeouts, and Cole has a 66-3 strikeout to walk right now. And he's fully healthy. Good? Yeah, not bad. And he's fully healthy, and his team is better than the Mets. Probably, I would say the Yankees are going to start rolling now at some point, and they're starting to roll already and come out of that early season funk. So, yeah, I think it's funny in draft season. DeGrom, at the beginning of draft season, DeGrom was kind of in the middle of the first round, and then he started throwing 100 in spring training, and he moved up to the point where he's getting picked in the top 3 of every draft. And now I think with this little side issue, he's kind of back now. I mean, he's back now with Cole and Bieber. I wouldn't argue with anyone who wanted to take DeGrom and thought he would just move past this, but there is that chance that, that this, holds him out longer than we think, or it comes back at some point in 3 weeks or in 2 months or something like that. And the Mets aren't the greatest at handling injuries. Yeah.
I'm going to revise my answer, by the way.
Okay.
Cole, I take Cole over DeGrom now, not Bieber.
Not Bieber.
Team context is a little bit of the walks, a little bit of the team context.
Okay.
Gives up a few more homers also.
Yeah.
When he does give one up.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's the list. Tyler Glasnow's been great. Rodon's been great. Bauer's been great. Scherzer was really awesome last time out. But I mean, DeGrom, when he's on, is just so special. So it's only Cole that I would take over DeGrom now.
Yeah, and I think if you took DeGrom, I have DeGrom in one league. If you took DeGrom, I'm not panicking, and I'm not really regretting that choice. I took him second overall. Maybe if I knew what I knew then, what I know now, I would take Cole. But I did. But I'm not regretting that pick, and I feel like when the season's done, there's still a great chance that DeGrom's a top 10 player.
Yeah, that's right. So that's the way I feel about that. So I wouldn't panic. You're not going to get a full value for him in trade. So I probably wouldn't even look to trade because of this. I would try to trade for him.
Yep.
You never know. I mean, and I would offer quite a bit, but Joel Hernard asked thoughts on Nola. I know Nola didn't have a great start last time. But yeah, I mean, I'd offer up Nola for him. I don't think that's what he's asking though. He's just asking general thoughts on Nola. What do you think about? Fine human being, nice to pets.
Good pitcher. I think Nola's totally good. He's a mid-level ace. I think there's still a big gap after the big 3, and he's in that next tier. Castillo's dropped out of that tier, and Scherzer's still in it, and I think Bauer's still in it, and I think Nola's in it. And I'd trade anyone for example, I also know that wasn't what he was asking, but I would trade anyone in that tier for DeGrom. I may not trade my Bieber for DeGrom. I may just not mess with my team to that degree, like you were talking about earlier, but anyone else, any other pitcher I would.
Right. And Nola is only 2 starts removed from his a 10 strikeout game. There's nothing wrong with his velocity. Yeah. I have no qualms with Nola. Just Atlanta got him. That happens. And their version of getting him is he put up 5 runs against him. So not worried about Nola at all.
Yeah. And Atlanta's a good lineup. And I think one of the best in the National League. And yeah, Nola's been one of the most, he's had a couple high whip seasons, but generally really consistent. Whip under 1.1, ERA in the low 3s. He's really consistent ace on a solid team, not an amazing team, but a team where he could win 15 games or so.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So yeah, happy warm thoughts about him. Corbin Burns coming back on Thursday. I mean, And for a while, we might have been talking about Corbin Burnes in the same stratosphere here. I know some people have talked about him like equal to Bieber or something like that. Coming back from COVID, he's going to make that start on Thursday. It might be abbreviated because he's been off for a couple of weeks. I know there's some speculation maybe that this was manage his innings trip, but I don't think so. But
No,
I have no way of affirming or denying, really. I just don't suspect that.
I agree. I think this is all on the up and up, and I would have absolutely no hesitation of putting him right back into my lineup, even if it ends up being a short start, which it may not. But even if it was a 4-inning start, whatever, I'll take. For him, you might get 8 Ks, 7 Ks in the 4 innings. I'll take it. So yeah, and I'm not even worried about rust or anything. Like he looks great so far this year. I'm not worried that he was great last year. This isn't like Rodon for me, where I'm not worried about what will happen with Rodon, but I'm curious. That's for sure. I think Burnes is just really, really good. He's probably not as good as he's been so far, but I think he's really, really good. If we were redrafting today, I would draft him very, very high.
Yeah.
Second tier. I'd draft him in the Nola tier with those other guys.
I'd agree. Yeah. Right. I do it. I'd put him right up there with Bauer and Nola.
Yep.
I'm there.
Second round type pitcher. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been, and we talked about this with Genstad on Sunday and on the radio show with Liz, that second tier of pitching, aside from Castillo, and if you want to dip all the way down to Snell, maybe Giolito has been a little disappointing, but that second tier of pitching has been pretty damn good.
That's right. Which makes it, for those who have Castillo, like, I feel like even more disheartening, because, you can't even look around and say, well, everybody's dealing with this. Everybody's ace is struggling. Everybody's high end number 2 is struggling. Like, no, they're not. Like yours is, but most people are getting great ratios and plenty of strikeouts from there. So I think that makes it even more of a punishment for those who are dealing with Castillo, which I am in one league.
Yeah, that's right. Big breaking news. I'm even going to post it in the chat here of the live stream. AJ Casavelli, Casavel covers the Padres for MLB.com, reports Fernando Tatis, Jurickson Profar, and Jorge Mateo have been placed on the IL due to health and safety protocols. Padres just announced. Huge news there. And again, this could be 1 day. It could be 14 days. We just dealt with this with Corbin Burnes. People are suspecting, maybe they just want to get another arm up. He'd still make a start. Or he's out 2 weeks. And we just don't know.
Yeah, because it's 3 of them all at the same time. If I had to speculate, I would speculate that, either it's a COVID situation and they're out, like you said, for a week or more, or it's that the Padres got a round of vaccines and these 3 guys aren't feeling great today, so they're out for a couple of days. We won't know. We'll know in about 2 days. Where are the Padres right now? Oh, I just put it all together. They're in Coors right now, right?
They are in Coors.
So if you're a Tatis owner like me and Tout Wars, you're going to lose out on maybe the whole Coors series for him.
Yeah. The only good news is there's other Coors Field series for the Padres.
Yeah.
But
still, I mean, and it could be anything from a day. So I'm going to cross my fingers that he's just not feeling great today. Tomorrow he's back and he's playing and he hits 2 home runs at Coors Field. But if you're going to lose him for a couple of days, this is the last time you'd want it to happen.
Yeah, it is. And so if you've got an NFBC team, you've got a couple in that environment. They didn't play yesterday because they got rained out. So you can still make a switch. Are you switching Tatis out for Tuesday through Thursday?
Yeah, I think so. Assuming I have someone on my bench, obviously. But if you have someone on your bench in NFBC who's healthy, then I think I would. What about you? I know.
I think with Tatis, I think with you don't have Mateo, but if you have Profar, sure.
Profar's out.
Easy swap out. Tatis, it would take a pretty high berry, like a guy that I know was going to play all 3 days to do that. Right. And even then, well,
let's just
if it's
say
Andrelton Simmons, no, I wouldn't do it.
I was just about to use him. I was going to say him, Miguel Rojas. There's a bunch of those guys all around the same level. So you would leave all who are kind of like just barely in your lineup on your bench. Freddie Galvis. any of those. I know Freddie Galvis played last night, but that level of guy, those are typically the guys who on an NFBC team are your best bench bat. So if you had those guys, you would just ride Tatis.
Yeah, because what if he comes back from the doubleheader tomorrow? I mean,
yeah, no, I think I might too, and just take the zeros. What are the odds? It's possible, but what are the odds that Simmons or Galvis or Rojas get you a homer or a steal?
Never tell me the odds. They just got better, by the way, just because you asked that question.
I know.
Galvis is your favorite, like late middle.
He
too,
is.
So
I just picked him up in the main event on Sunday. So, and I told Jeff Zimmerman after we grabbed him for like $10, it wasn't like I was targeting him, but I said, you are going to have a hard time getting me to let go of Galvis at this point. I picked him up early in the year and then he was sick or he's minorly injured for a couple of days. And I had to let him go, but I said, you're going to have a hard time getting me to let him go this time.
You cannot pry him from my cold, dead hands.
That's what it'll take. Yeah.
So that's pretty big, huge news there. So hopefully it's just a very short-term thing. It's like a contact trace or something like that. Other news, COVID-related news. It's now COVID cast. We did Kelenic cast. Now it's COVID cast. Yankees have 5 coaches that are positive. That's from Marley Rivera. I was just tweeting that out. At least 5 Yankees coaches. Is that with the big team, or is that with, is that in the among the minor league facilities? I don't know the details.
I would say it's with the Yankees. If now that the minor league season started, I'd say if you say Yankees coaches, I'm thinking they're not AAA coaches; they're Yankees coaches.
Yeah, that's what I fear too.
But no players so far, I guess.
So far, I mean, usually with one comes the next. I mean, remember it was like a member of the Nats traveling party, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, we're going to shut down the weekend. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just be aware. So Yankees are in Tampa right now. So that is actually the Yankees train in Tampa. So that might open up the door to being someone else too. That's possible. But that's tough. Keep an eye out to see if there's anybody significant not in the lineup tonight. That might give us a little bit of a clue. Anybody that normally would start for the Yankees, if it gets to that point. But what a mess.
Yeah, I've seen the Yankees lineup for tonight, and I'm pretty sure I saw it already, and I think it looked normal. I didn't notice anything because Luke Voigt's back tonight, so I did notice that. But I didn't notice anything. I think they
pulled it, though. I mean, at least on our side.
Interesting. Okay.
I could be wrong about that. So we'll see. But I don't know. I did.
Yeah.
At least on RotoWire right now, as I look at our daily lineups page, it is an expected lineup, not a confirmed lineup. And that might change. But Voigt is expected to be back and batting 4th. I do have him in TGFBI. I did activate him. Looking forward to having that back. So we'll see. How's your TGFBI team doing?
I don't have a TGFBI.
You don't have one. Dumb question.
No.
Then.
Yeah.
I always know the answer to the questions that you're about to ask.
So I don't have one, but if I did, I'm sure it would be going okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's just terrible interviewing skills there. Horrible. Second worst thing I did today. First worst was like scheduling this during construction in my house. But
I've only heard it a couple times. It's been
it was much worse during the golf cast than it was now. So
and golfers,
I'm knocking on that word.
And golfers are used to quiet in the background. So
exactly.
Really
it was really noticeable for sure.
Yeah.
Got a couple of user questions. I want to jump in on them right now. We'll get back to some of our show notes. But John Campbell asks, where's Max Scherzer getting traded to? Just pulled off a trade for him, hoping for a better situation than the Nats. Why wouldn't the Yankees pull the trigger? Well, it takes 2 to tangle, first of all. And you rarely does a trade of that scale happen that early. And so that's also a good question. But is Max going to get traded by the deadline? Are the Nats that bad? Or I think some of it is like, this is a proud team that's come back from worse to win the World Series. So I think it's probably going to be a while before they trade him.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a good backstory with this because I got destroyed on Twitter about 2 weeks ago for saying that where is Max Scherzer going to get traded at the end of July? And then Nats fans picked up on that. And I must have had 75 responses saying, do you not remember 19 and 31? And then we won the World Series and all these things. And I was like, whoa, like back up guys, like 19 and 31, you won the World Series. Totally awesome. The reason you're bringing it up is that it's remarkable and it's probably not going to happen again. And I think that, I don't know. I think that if the Nats fall out of the race, then Scherzer I think it would make a lot of sense. That the Nats don't have a great farm system right now. Like, they shelled out, right, for these contending years.
Yeah.
I would think it would make a lot of sense. They could even look at bringing Scherzer back in the offseason if they wanted to. But I think trading him would make a lot of sense to a contending team. I mean, the Yankees will be in the hunt for every player who's available, but I don't know if it would be good for his fantasy value. The Nats aren't a bad team, and they're in the National League. Like, if I'd rather leave Scherzer in the NL if possible, and my general theory on guys who are rolling is if they're rolling, I'd rather have them just stay where they are, stay with the same catcher, stay with the same pitching coach. Let's just not change anything. So I have Scherzer in the main event, and I would rather he just stays with the Nats and the Nats are competitive all season. I think that would be the best thing for his fantasy value. But, he's such a good player. If he gets traded, he'll probably still be really good.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like we said, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. It's too early to kind of extrapolate the Nats' slow start into them being sellers. And in fact, I mean, they are 13-17, but that's only 4 games under 500. Maybe he was just trying to get you in trouble again too.
I don't think that. I will say, the
John,
reason I sent it the tweet is I don't think the Nats are very good, and I do think they will fall out of the race, and I do think that he will be a popular name on the trade market because he's someone who could be your ace in the playoffs if he's healthy, like it's still through then. Someone who could be your ace in the playoffs. So I could see a team whether it's the Yankees or like maybe Boston. Boston's off to a great start and has a great lineup, and we'll get Chris Sale back at some point this year. And maybe Boston grabs a rental Scherzer and tries to make a run. I don't know, but there's teams out there who I'm sure would love to have him. So, but like I said, for fantasy value, if he's rolling with like he is right now, still at the end of July, I'd rather probably have him just stay put.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Another big story that emerged, and it's not really a fantasy note, but I think we should address it anyhow, and that's the Oakland A's. MLB came out and said they're advising the A's to look for other alternatives if the latest ballpark proposal doesn't get approved by the city council, which is in downtown Oakland on the West Bay. I think it's West Bay. It's near the shipping area. There was a good article I read about a week ago that talked about all the various nuances of this issue. I'll see if I can find it here, but it really dug into like the whole history of them trying to find a new place to build. I mean, for like 15, 20 years, they've been trying to find a place to build, but it's also, they're also asking for a lot from the city, and there's some other consequences to them building there. Yeah.
So this feels like Jeff Passan released it. My initial thought was this feels like posturing, like from the team or the league being like, hey, Jeff, you want to break this story? It'll get lots of clicks. And like, we need a big guy like you to break it. So to me, it feels like posturing. So I don't live in Oakland, so I'm not going to go too far with it yet. But I will say that on a non-fantasy slant, I really hope the A's stay in Oakland because I feel like there's just a really cool history there. Like just a lot of like I grew up with the Bash Brothers and that whole era, but there's a lot of history even like obviously long before I was watching a lot of baseball, and I hope they stay. I feel totally different, by the way, about the Rays. If Major League Baseball ever wanted to move the Rays, I would kind of shrug my shoulders. I've watched the Blue Jays play a lot of games in Tampa. Like that place is morbid, the stadium and usually empty. And like, if they wanted to bring them to a more energetic fan base, I would actually be okay with that. And I'd love to get another baseball team in Canada again, but I wouldn't want it to be the A's. I don't want it to be the A's. I want them to stay in Oakland. I think that's good for baseball. I like that franchise.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think you're absolutely right about that. Although it's not that I have anything against Tampa. I don't think it's the team. I don't think it's the city's fault that they're not. I think it's a horrible location. Everything I've read, and of course, it's a pretty bad ballpark. And all that. And I get it. And I hate seeing billionaires get this largesse from cities, taxpayers and all that. So that's why I'm kind of anti that. Here's the article. It's from Oakland side. I'm going to post this one in the chat too. It's it's a really good story about like basically all the issues facing it there. So read through it when you get a chance. I think people would learn a lot from that one there. But anywho, just thought I'd throw that one out there. Let's hit a couple of injury notes, and then we'll talk about what happened last night. Another surprising demotion, maybe some other prospects we should look at. But first, before we do any of that, quick note from our other sponsor, Vivid Seats. The world is coming back and the NFL season will be upon us. I don't know about you, but I'm pumped for the regular season schedule release on May 12th. If you're like me and you're looking to see the action live, then head on over to Vivid Seats, the ultimate go-to source for live events. From the biggest concerts and games to the hottest theater and comedy shows, Vivid Seats makes it easy for you to discover your favorite event, find your seat, gain entry, and make new memories. Just download the app, choose your city, and get access to the largest selection of tickets on the games and performances you love, including the NFL, MLB, NBA, and more. For a limited time, Vivid Seats is giving our listeners 10% of your ticket, up to $30 max. Just use the promo code RotoWire when you check out. Every purchase is backed by its 100% buyer guarantee, and you'll earn even more you'll even earn cash back with the Vivid Seats rewards program. Vivid Seats, getting you into the game. All right, thanks to Vivid Seats for the sponsorship. Also, thanks to WinBets for sponsoring us as well. CJ Crone was a guy I set at one point the min in the 12-team online championship, and then I was regretting it for about 2 weeks, and he kind of started heating up.
Yep.
And then this weekend, he got the back issue. Now he goes on the IL for what should be a 7-game series at Coors Field this week.
Really frustrating. I mean, you have to kind of expect, I guess, if your Rockies end up on the IL, that they'll miss some home games, but him going on the IL right before the first home game of the series that's a tough one. But you're right. He had come alive. I forget what his OPS exactly was. I think it was in the 800s. It like totally fine. So I think he's like, for actionable fantasy advice, I think he's someone who I'm looking to hold pretty much everywhere. It's just really annoying that you're losing him for this homestand.
Yep, absolutely. I was able to swap him out yesterday when he was getting scrapped. I was able to swap him out on Friday in one of my 2 leagues where I had him, but not in my NL only. And then obviously I benched him for this week because I wasn't going to introduce Aaron until he actually was in a lineup. He's not in, and that's a bummer. Are you like going after Fuentes or any of the other possible guys? Like Matt Adams? Are you going after at all?
Matt Adams would be an interesting one. So I haven't. I think because, I could in Yahoo Friends and Family maybe pick up Matt Adams. I want to see the lineup tonight, which I just looked for and I haven't seen it yet.
I can beat you to it. Yeah, I might be doing it while we talk.
Go for it. You can go for it because I'm not that excited about it. But I'm not going after Fuentes. He has had no control over the strike zone this year. In all the weekly leagues, though, you missed the homestand. So I know they do have some more home games in May after this week, obviously, and like some coming up. Like May's a heavy home month for them, but I don't know. I could see Matt Adams hitting 2 home runs this week, and then everyone chasing him on Sunday Night Fab, and then they're on the road next week, and he doesn't do anything. Right. I can totally see that happening.
Too late. I actually already have Hosmer and Santana at first base, so it'd be hard for me to fit him in. Believe it or not, I actually have like a full roster of hitters today, assuming Judge plays. That's the one thing I'm not quite sure about yet, but I'm still waiting for a lineup on that. I don't think Joey Wendell's playing today, which is a bummer. That was because the Yankees have Montgomery going. That's why.
Right.
That's kind of super annoying. We do have a Yankees lineup now. It goes LeMahieu, Stanton, Judge, Urshela. I think they were waiting on Urshela to see if he could play, actually.
Right.
Because he missed the weekend. Voit, Torres, Hicks, Sanchez, Gardner. So no Clint Frazier. Yay, I got that one so wrong. Yay. Anyways, including in labor. So that one I'll take an L on. Clint Frazier there, something like that.
Totally. Yeah.
Nothing else to say on that one. Analysis.
No.
Thank you.
That one didn't work out well. And hey, he's out of the lineup, so at least you're not tempted to use him.
Right. Also out of the lineup today, Javi Baez. He's been battling a back issue, and he's still striking out a ton, but he gives you all the other category juice, so it's been worth the trade-off. But not in now. This is like 4 days in a row, I think. Now
he's in the lineup, isn't he? He's in the lineup.
No, he was in, and then they took him out.
He's in, and then they took him out. So I had seen the original lineup, and I thought he was in, and I believe he was in. They're in an AL park right now, right? And he's in it, but he was in at shortstop.
They're at Cleveland.
They're at Cleveland. There you go. So they could have DH'd him today, but they had him in originally, I believe, at shortstop. And I was like, oh, that's really encouraging. Like, They don't even need to DH him. He must be fine. But now you're saying he's out of the lineup. They just revised him.
In his place is Eric Sogard. So that's kind of a drop off there. I'm kind of scrambling to see if I can replace him where I have him. I do have him in one of my online championships, I'm pretty sure. So I thought I did at least. Maybe I have him. I have him in labor. Yay. Can't change it now.
Can't change it now. Too late. Yep. Yeah. Hopefully he'll be back. If he was scratched today, hopefully he's like a day or two away, and it's not one of those like we scratched him and we're just going to put him on the IL now.
Yeah, something
because they do. Because with them in an AL park, they do need bats this week. Maybe he's available off the bench. We'll see.
Yeah, that would be nice if it were just a limited engagement sort of thing there. But these day-to-day things are worse than sometimes you're like just put them on. So I can replace them. I know better. Frustrating, but then again, if he comes back in 2 days, I'll be like, why'd you think about putting him on the IL? So it's such a hypocrite.
Yeah. Hey, you're talking to a guy whose favorite team spent a massive amount of money on George Springer, left him on the IL, brought him back for 4 games, I think it was, and now he's back on the IL for almost a month. And and everyone's thinking, why did you bring him back when he wasn't ready?
At least he hit 2 homers. That's better than Crichton.
He basically won them 1 game by himself.
Yeah.
Well,
it's better than Christian Yelich. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, for sure.
Eric Lee asks on Twitter, is Brandon Belt for real? He's actually available in one of his NFBC leagues, which it would be an upgrade over Tommy Pham or Justin Upton. What say you?
I dropped Justin Upton for Brandon Belt. I think he's real enough. Last year, one of the least discussed probably stats from last year is he had a 1,000 OPS last year, and he played 51 games. 1,015 was his OPS last year. I didn't hear many people going in. I think it's because he had the off-season surgeries, and everyone was kind of steering away from him. Like you would think someone who had a 1,000 OPS and play I know it was a short season, would have had more draft buzz, but you could get him in round 25, 30 almost. So I would drop Justin Upton for him. I think he's real enough. I think he's going to he's striking out enough that he's going to hit for a low average, maybe a little higher than this 229 right now, but maybe more like 240. But I think the power's fairly real. What about you?
I'm almost more inclined to drop Pham than I am Upton, but I know I'm trying to resist endowment effect. Upton's still not hitting for average, but he's not as good as I thought he was. 7 homers, and that's what stood out to me. Okay, he's get the power back, but still hitting 216. He does have a stolen base, but it's only that 1 stolen base. I think it was last night or something too. But I thought he might have been doing a little bit better than he was. So I can
Pham's been awful. I totally acknowledge that. His BABIP's been low. His strikeout and his walk rate are both pretty much the same as his normal in his career. I don't think he's 100% at all yet, but I just feel like there's just enough upside and steals are scarce enough that I need to keep Pham right now. I think we talked about that with Ian Happ about a week ago, right? Where's the line of guys you drop? I think Pham is still in that group of guys. He was even drafted usually earlier than Happ, where I just couldn't cut him yet.
I'm with you on that. I think that makes sense. And he can steal. I think that's the other thing. He's just going to run. I know Upton has the 1, but Pham could get you 10 stolen bases, and that's pretty hard to replicate here. You had a couple of closer notes from yesterday. Stephen Crichton, is he the Arizona closer?
I think he is. I think he should be rostered in more places than he has been. Yep,
100% agree. And I think Soria has melted away. He's not even that good. I think it's pretty clear that Crichton's the guy.
Is Crichton the guy enough for you that if you were holding any other Arizona reliever, you would drop him?
Yeah, because they all stink.
Yeah, I think so too. Yes, I think that's part of the equation too, is there's no great setup man who you're like, well, you know what, I can just use him for a week here and there and just take the ratios. I would, if I was holding Ginkel, if I was holding Soria, I would drop any of them and just roll Crichton. And if Crichton blows a couple saves, then you can go back and try to pick someone up. But Crichton's not in the level anymore where I'm like, okay, he could lose his job anytime here. We better have someone ready.
I mean, let's face it, Crichton's got a 168 whip in his own right. I mean, he's not what we kids would call good, but he's just not as bad as everybody else in that bullpen. 4 saves so far. I thought he had 6, but I guess it's only 4. Yeah, the other guy you were asking about, Jake Mcgee, I trust Mcgee more than I would Crichton,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
Nonetheless, I still think that I think Crichton's the guy. Now Mcgee, he gets sometime on Friday. He was really kind of struggling with his location and got strike 3 against Ha-Seong Kim on just a really hideous call. But hey, it happened for my team, so I'll take it. That's the way this whole thing works. He has given up 3 homers, 4.80 ERA. But then you look 22 to 4 K to walk in 15 innings.
Mm-hmm.
They're still using him as the closer. I know some buzz about Tyler Rogers maybe sneaking a save or 2 in because Rogers has been great. He also has 10 holds. If you're in a Solds league, that's pretty money to get that.
Absolutely.
And in fact, that bodes better success in the long run. But only 10 strikeouts in 20.2 innings. I know he's only walked 4 guys so far. That I like, but I need a few more strikeouts, I think.
Yeah, Rogers isn't your typical closer, like as far as stuff goes. But Gabe Kapler mentioned him, and you're right. He's clearly their setup guy. Maybe he's clear as any setup guy in the league. Like he's getting almost all of their holds, and he's got a couple saves. If Jake Mcgee blows a save or 2, I think Rogers is in. I think they're both those like pretty short leash type closers, but I think both of those guys are solidly the guy right now.
Yeah. Speaking of closers, got a question from soccer buddy of mine, Kurt Lamont, asks, you think Trevor May will be the Mets closer sooner than later? No, I don't. May is good. He's a nice signee, but they paid Jared Kelenic prices for Edwin Diaz. Diaz is fine too. He's got a 119 whip, 314 ERA. The FIP is 205, 18 to 5 K to walk. I don't see any reason why he's going to get displaced as the closer. May will be the guy. If something happens to Diaz, May would be the guy. He's the next best guy. He might even be better, but I think they like May in the role they got him in.
Yeah, it's all about Diaz's back, right? Like he had that one night where his back was acting up and he had to come out of the save chance. I mean, Diaz has had 2 bad outings this year. Both of those outings were in non-save situations. They make his ratios look a little worse than what he's actually been, because when he's had to get saves, he's been perfect. It's all about Diaz's back. Did act up a couple of weeks ago. What was that? It was May. Actually, not that long ago. May 2nd was the outing where he had to leave. At that point, I kind of had May on my radar, so I'll keep him kind of on my radar. I do think there's a decent chance they would go to May. I saw some Mets reporters say maybe it would be Juris Familia or someone like that, or a committee, so that they could kind of still optimize the use of May in the 7th and 8th innings, which I totally get. So. But if Diaz had another issue with his back, I would go straight to waivers and try to grab May. But it's just that situation. If there's nothing wrong with his back, Diaz is fine.
I'd agree with that. Let's talk about last night. Kyle Gibson. Do you believe, Fred? I mean, in the historical guy, Kyle Gibson, sure, the living being Kyle Gibson, but do you believe that his level of performance is for real?
I can't. No. I can't. I don't. Nope, I don't. He's had some good BABIP luck. I think Kyle Gibson may have moved from not rosterable to rosterable. How about that? In the leagues that we play in, 15 teams and 12s, I think he's moved from not roster. I'm giving him that. He's moved from not rosterable to rosterable. But when you look at the rest of his skills, like his walk rate's better this year, but it's still not really good. Like he has his 15 walks in 47 innings. It's not good. His strikeout rate's not good. It's at 7.8 per 9. So he's had some good BABIP luck. It's a 244 BABIP. It's not ridiculously good this year, but it's pretty good. Like I said, I think he's rosterable. If I had him in a trading league, I might float him out there maybe for someone who I like better. I'll just give you an easy, quick example. I don't know if this is perfect, but Dylan Bundy. I would trade Kyle Gibson for Dylan Bundy in a second. Dylan Bundy has an ERA in the 5s. Maybe the Dylan Bundy owner just looks at the ERA gap and says, sure, I'll try Kyle Gibson.
I actually agree with you on that. I think that's the way it is. I just will throw out this stat. I think it's interesting. Opening day, Kyle Gibson was the disaster. Made a third of an inning, walked 3 guys, gave up 4 hits, 5 runs, all earned. Since that day, he has gone 7 starts, 47 innings, 134 ERA, 0.89 whip. He's gone at least 6 innings in all of those starts. I'll tell you how hard it is to find guys going that long. I mean, it's really difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and his pitch counts. This is the big difference. Is he's someone who his team's letting him throw 100 pitches. Like his last 5 starts: 97, 99, 98, 107, 103. He's hanging in these games despite not being incredibly efficient. Like he's got 9 walks in his last 4 starts. So he's like nowadays. Normally, if a guy's walking 2 batters to start, he's not throwing 6-7 innings. They're letting him go deeper into his starts. I just not like I say, he's rosterable, and I would use him right now. I wouldn't use him against Boston. I wouldn't use him against the Yankees, but I use him in a lot of matchups. If I had him in a league with trades, though, I would float him out there and see what I could get.
Yeah, I think so too. I've been never Gibson because of what he did to me in the past.
Yeah,
so,
I get it. You might have a league with 11 never Gibsons plus you, so you might not be able to trade him. But if you want to go like find someone who needs pitching and take like a hitter who's slumping, like an Ian Happ, who we've talked about a few times, someone like that, someone who's just had a miserable start to the season but was like a pretty high pick, and see if you can pick up someone like that maybe someone's just sick of.
Yeah, well, which leads into a question here from the chat. C Sinatra 10, but not Sinatra the singer, but asks, who are the guys that are struggling right now that you would try to trade for? You mentioned one in Dylan Bundy as a possibility. Who are some other guys? We mentioned Luis Castillo earlier in the podcast as another one. Give me a hitter that you try to target and maybe an early season slumper.
Yeah, Happ and Lindor are 2 that I think
we talked about Lindor last week. Yeah.
Yeah. I would still he's starting to come out of it, but the overall numbers are still really bad. So I think Happ checks a lot of boxes right now, and that the numbers are bad, and he's on the IL, but he shouldn't be on the IL for that long. So that's someone else who I would target. Another one on the pitching side I would really look at is Nathan Ivaldi. And I don't think of Ivaldi as like really like bad so far this year, but he hasn't been great lately, and his ERA is 4.62. But I believe he has the biggest gap of any qualified pitcher right now from his ERA to his FIP. So it's like 2.5 runs. So his strikeout to walk is outstanding. So he's just had some bad BABIP luck, some bad strand rate luck. He's another one on the pitching side that I think you could pick up. There's another one for Kyle Gibson, right? Like if I had an overachiever who I didn't really believe in, like Kyle Gibson, you could probably get Ivaldi in a lot of leagues for him, and I would rather Ivaldi.
I think that's a good one. A little higher end, Pete Alonso, only 5 homers so far. 255 is fine as far as the batting average goes. But, you're expecting a few more homers. They're going to come. The weather's going to heat up. The Mets are actually behind in games played, too. So sneakily, you could probably add a few extra games in, which is always nice. So that's one guy I try to add. I try to go for Ozzie Albies, although whoever owns Albies probably has some endowment effect. Now that I remember the phrase, I can go with it there.
Kyle Tucker. There's one I'll add into. He's you're running. I think you're running out of time with Kyle Tucker. Like he had that big game on Sunday, and then he had another hit last night. So I think you might be running out of time with Kyle Tucker. But like overall, he's batting 192. I think you could still buy low on him, and he's someone he would be right at the top of my list, maybe the very top for guys I would buy low on right now. Yeah,
Michael Brantley has 9 RBI so far. But he's also hitting 300, so you're probably not going to be able to get him cheaply.
I feel like people look at the batting average category more than they should when you talk trade. I could be wrong, but I feel like they look at that batting average category, then homers and steals, and then kind of runs and RBIs last, which I don't know, maybe that makes some sense to look at runs and RBIs last. But whenever I think about who you can buy low on, my mind often starts with the guys who are hitting under 200.
Right at 200, Marcell Ozuna, 201.
Yeah.
What do you think about him?
I buy low on Marcell Ozuna all day, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course I would. But I was hoping to get a contrary opinion, but I guess not. So no.
If you look at Ozuna, like his strikeout rate same as last year. He's walking less, but it's not an alarming less at all. He's walked plenty. He's just off to a slow start. BABIP's low, and last year BABIP was really high. Like I'm not expecting Marcell Ozuna to be the 1,000 OPS guy he was last year, but I think he could be an 850 OPS guy going forward, which in the middle of that lineup is still really valuable.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'm going to close locally for you at least. Nate Pearson just got sent down today. A little surprising, but frankly, I was a little surprised they called him up after one minor league start too.
Weird thing, and I think it's related to the Jays just running out of pitching right now and just struggling to find starters. And, he had the one start, and I guess they were encouraged enough. And I don't even know if they were expecting him to go 5 in that start at Houston, but I watched his performance, and he just could not find the strike zone. So he could not, and I'm not like going to profess to being like the world's #1 pitching scout, but he could not repeat his delivery. Like he would make one nice pitch and then like 3 bad ones, and a lot of the bad ones, they were like really bad and nowhere near the strike zone. And he was walking guys on 4 pitches and 5 pitches, and there were counts, right? Like he's 3-0 and he's missing the strike zone by a fair amount sometimes. He just couldn't repeat his delivery. So he needs to go to the minors. He needs to work on that. I think he needs to be down for, I don't know, a minimum of like 3 starts or something like that. And those 3 starts would have to be like really encouraging, which is too bad because the Jays really could use him right now. But like they can't use him the way he pitched on Sunday. He basically, like, they gave them almost no chance. What's remarkable about Nate Pearson, though, like I wouldn't dismiss him for this year. When he could throw strikes on Sunday, they couldn't hit him. So like he'd walk 2 guys and then throw a 97, 98 mile an hour fastball, and someone would pop it up and he'd get an easy out or get a ground ball double play or something. But like the Astros couldn't hit him very well. He just couldn't stop walking guys. And then eventually, I mean, you keep walking guys, eventually you give up. A ground ball finds its way through and a couple of guys score. So I'd say he's a drop in any mixed league, but I'd say watch his AAA numbers and mostly just watch the walk total. And if it looks like the walk total is down, then get ready to pick him back up.
Who makes a bigger impact this year in the big leagues, Nate Pearson or Alec Manoa?
Oh, that's a great question. A bigger impact. I'll go with Manoa. I think because the Jays need pitching, and Manoa's, if he keeps this up, like I think they'll have to bring him up in June. I don't think they bring him up now, but I think maybe at some point in June. The Jays are trying to win this year, and if Nate Pearson can't come through, like they need someone else in that rotation, and I think maybe Manoa gets his chance. And he looks really good.
I mean, they're really faking the 4th and 5th spots in the rotation right now.
Totally. Yeah. Guys like Anthony Kay, bullpen days, Trent Thornton, like they are. And it's worked. Like so far, okay. Like they've managed to get a lot of length out of their bullpen group. Like they're a little Rays like.
Yeah, Stripling and Kay haven't worked though. That's the thing. No. They've been horrible. They're lucky they've had good Robbie Ray and Steven Matz. And
Steven Matz has been trending down. That's where it felt like they really needed, like Ryu you can trust, and Ray so far you can trust, but beyond that, like Matz is 50-50, which is fine. He can be in the rotation, but Stripling, they really need one more guy to emerge. And if it's not going to be Pearson, I think in June at some point they give a shot to Manoa. So maybe in some leagues it's worth stashing him right now.
Yeah, I think so too. I just picked up Manoa in Tout Wars for $2 or $3. Tied Ryan Bloomfield, but I was lower in the standings, so I won.
Wow!
But yeah, so
had the same idea. A tie on $1,000 budget. That's amazing.
It's like but it's that time of season you start speculating. Yeah. You know, we see Kelenic. He also added Vidal Brujan from the Rays. It's that time to start like speculating, even early. Because you're looking, you look at the player and you look at the team and what they have. You know, Kevin Kiermaier just went on the IL for the Rays again, shocking enough. So there's an opening there. So pound that home. Yeah, hammer that bid.
That's right. And in a league like AL Tout, what's Manoa cost you? Like you have to put him in the lineup for those listening who don't know the rules to Tout, but you have to put him in your lineup this week. But all he's going to cost you is a middle reliever for a week. Like he's going to cost you 3 strikeouts, probably 3 or 4 strikeouts, probably not a win. Who knows how the ratios will go for that reliever in 1 week? Like it's easy to grab them in there. It's impossible in the NFBCs, like they're not available, but in a lot of other formats they are. And it all depends on bench size and things like that. But I do think Manoa will get his shot as long as he keeps performing in AAA. He could quickly shoot. I don't know if he shoots past Pearson in a long-term sense, or maybe just shoots up with him and is just throwing the ball better right now. Like Pearson's got stuff to figure out.
I'd agree with that. Yeah. And you know, the downside is you can't get Daniel lynched. I mean, that happened last week, and
Yeah.
That could happen where he's just not that good initially. But I'm actually holding on to Lynch too. I'm not dropping.
Interesting. The good thing about guys like Manoa going forward is when you bring them up, they'll be coming off a series of effective AAA starts. Whereas someone like Lynch was coming off like nothing, alternate site, didn't play last year. Like at least now when Manoa comes up, he might have a 2.5 ERA from 7 AAA starts or something, and then you bring him up. So I mean, he's throwing well. You still could get Lynch, but I feel a little safer once we get a basis of AAA stats.
That's right. Any other parting shots before we sign off today, Fred?
No, I don't think so. I will just go back to our opening, and I'm just waiting for this Jared Kelenic debut, and I'm waiting to see what we think of him. It'll be, if he falls flat on his face, it'll be you'll be podcasting with the most disappointed version of Fred Zinkie you've ever podcasted with next Tuesday. If he comes out and starts 1 for 15, I'll be like, oh.
No, that means I think you more like if he starts off 1 for 15, that means you'll be successful in trading for him, and you'll be like psyched because you had him in 2 more leagues by the time.
No, I need this guy I need in those NFBCs, I need this guy to hit the ground running.
I do.
So I don't think he's going back down, but I agree. Either way, but this guy needs to hit the ground running.
Indeed. Yeah. All right, that's going to conclude today's podcast. We got Clay and James for the Prospect Pod. They actually have real minor league stats to talk about. Should be fun. So make sure to tune in for that. As always, please subscribe, rate, and review. Appreciate everybody jumping in on the chat as well today during the live stream. And we'll keep doing this. Please chime in. And thanks for your Twitter questions too. Have a great day.
Try RotoWire today, free for 10 days. Get our premium tools, rankings, analysis, and breaking news alerts. No credit card required. Go to rotowire.com/try.